In this video, we'll learn how to import our Photoshop brushes into MARI so we can use them. Alright, fantastic. So what I'm looking at here is MARI's brush editor, and we just learned about how we can begin to utilize the brush editor to customize our own brushes. Now, if you're like me and you come from a Photoshop background, maybe that's where you've done the majority of your texture work. It's likely that you have your own collection of custom brushes over in Photoshop that you're quite used to using to create your own surfaces as far as your textures go. Well, there's good news for you. You can actually bring those brushes, or at least the alphas for those brushes, over into MARI so you can begin to create textures with those familiar brushes. Let me show you how this works. So again, inside MARI we have our shelf palette, and MARI comes with a number of basic types of brushes. So the menu is where we're going to have our pie menu items. The personal is where we're going to have personal brushes that are not necessarily project specific. We have basic brushes, hard surface brushes, organic brushes. Some gentleman named Brad has included his new brushes for us. And then we have project-based brushes. These are brushes and project-based items that will basically only be saved inside the project we put them in. So when it comes to Photoshop brushes, we're going to actually create another tab inside the shelf, again here, or if we were to find our shelf pop-up, or rather shelf palette, let's go ahead and open that guy up here. Now that just forced my UI out of the recording area a bit. Let me just drop it just like so. I'll just resize this up. Alright, great. So this is your shelf palette, and again it is basically what we're using the K key on our keyboard to access with the shelf pop-up. So in order to bring our Photoshop brushes in, this is actually really easy. Let's just come over here and go to Tools, and then we're going to import brushes. It's just that simple. Now we browse to the Photoshop brush file that we have saved out of Photoshop. Now this needs to be a .abr file. This is the file that MARI is expecting to receive. So here inside your project files, you can see inside the referenced files folder, I've created an other folder where I've put this .abr file. I'll go ahead and select Open after I've selected that file, and you'll see that MARI is going through the process of importing all of my brushes right here inside of MARI. Now the good news is it's really easy to get the alpha for each of those brushes over. So if I just scroll here inside my shelf, you can see I have here my Photoshop brushes.abr tab. Inside this tab, you'll find every alpha for every brush that was saved inside that ABR file. You can see a lot of them are foliage. Some of them are kind of a mechanical type of a brush. Now the bad thing is that these brushes don't have the same dynamics attached to them that Photoshop had. So all of those dynamics are things that we'll have to reconfigure here inside of MARI. Let me show you an example here. I'm going to go ahead and select this leaf right here. You can see it's pretty large. I'll go ahead and shrink it down some, and you can see here that, well, that doesn't really look much like a leaf as I'm painting with it. Well, this is something that we'll need to fix inside of MARI's properties. So we'll need to maybe jitter position. Let me come in here and adjust a few of these things. Jitter position, jitter, come in and jitter the radius, the rotation, and I'm going to come in and scatter it some. Let's come in here and just try that again. Yeah, let's increase the spacing some. Jitter position a little bit more. There we go. Now we're starting to get something that looks a little bit more like foliage. So this is changes we're making to the brush inside of MARI. Now these changes aren't saved in this alpha right here. The way to save these custom MARI brush editor properties inside your brush is actually really simple. Let me come over and I'm just going to click this plus button here. So we can go ahead and click on that, and if we scroll all the way down to the bottom of this tab, you'll find here this new brush that we've made. Now, you remembered what the original leaf brush looked like. Let me just switch brushes off this, and you can see I've switched to some kind of mechanical piece here. And then I can switch back to this new brush, and if I come in and paint, you'll see it's remembering all of the properties that I set for it inside of the Properties tab. So the good news is that you can bring all of your Photoshop brushes over into MARI. The alphas coming over is actually really easy thing to do. However, in order to get those alphas to behave like they do over in Photoshop, you'll need to come in and create a new brush and reconfigure all of the dynamics, as Photoshop would call them, or properties as MARI refers to them, here on the MARI side of things. But it's not a tremendously hard thing to do. As a matter of fact, the hard part is just getting all of those alphas over. So, good news for you Photoshop users, you can bring your brushes right here into MARI.